All right, let's dive into meiosis. Meiosis is a cell division that produces gametes. Gametes, your sperm or your egg. Okay. Now I'm gonna put here as a goal. What's the goal of meiosis? Kind of two main goals. Okay. Number one, it's gonna reduce the number of chromosomes by half. Okay. So we're gonna go from diploid to haploid. We're talking about humans. We're gonna go from 46 chromosomes to 23 chromosomes. Okay, so 23 chromosomes is what's going to be in the sperm, 23 chromosomes in the egg. And another big thing about meiosis, okay, is this is the reason why sexual reproduction is so important, because it's going to yield genetically unique daughter cells or genetically unique offspring at the end. All right, why? Because that's what meiosis does, and we'll talk about this later in in a couple of ways, how meiosis actually, because of meiosis, we all end up looking different from our parents, right? We end up being unique. Meiosis is going to go through two cell divisions, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And I really like to explain meiosis as an introduction using this picture. Okay, I'm going to put here even summary. So if you struggle with meiosis, come back to this. This little story here tells you, well, this little picture tells you the whole story about meiosis in kind of one big picture. All right. So here we go. The first thing about meiosis is, and about my pictures here, look at these pictures here. I start with how many cells? We're going to start with one cell. Okay. We're going to end up with four cells. Okay. So in meiosis, we start with one cell and we end up with four cells. Also, what's going to happen is one of the goals here is we're going to end up with half the number of chromosomes. Okay, we're going to go from, again, diploid to haploid, from 46 to 23. Like I said, there's going to be two divisions, and all of the cells are going to be different, all different. Okay, so I start with one cell, I end up with four cells. Okay, the number of chromosomes went down from 46. I don't know if you can see it here, from 46. Each of my four cells, 23, 23, 23, 23. In other words, we went from diploid to haploid, half the number of chromosomes. All right, this is going to be our first cell division. So this is going to be meiosis 1. This is going to be meiosis 2. Okay, and most importantly, look at my fellas over here. The big one, the first one here started purple, and you end up with four cells that look all different from each other, right? A blue one, a green one, a orange one, and I don't know, salmon one or something like that. Okay, maybe I should, let me erase this. I don't want to make this complicated. So we end up with four cells, and all of them are unique, or they're different from each other. Okay, if you struggle with meiosis, again, go back to this picture, this amazing little picture, which is actually funny to see. It does tell you the whole story about meiosis. All right, let's focus now. Same concept, but let's focus on the chromosomes. So what is happening here? All right, so focus on the chromosomes. First thing that happens is interphase. So we start with one cell, and if don't think about this picture as different from what I said before. It's the same thing. You will see when you do the math, you'll see it's the same thing. This is just gives you an example with chromosomes. All right, we want to see how this chromosome number goes down. So here we go. We start with one cell over here. This cell is diploid, and this imaginary cell, okay, is diploid, and it has how many chromosomes? One and two. It has this, its diploid number is going to be two chromosomes. Okay, two chromosomes. All right, so one cell, this one is diploid, it has two chromosomes. What happens in interphase is we have the S phase, which by now we already know that then means DNA replication, which then means that by the end of DNA replication, what happens, we end up with this. Still one cell, okay, it's still diploid, okay, but these cells, by the way, these are homologous chromosomes, right? Because they're the same size, same shape, etc. But these chromosomes here, I want to put here, these chromosomes have been duplicated, so contain two sister chromatids. Okay, but still, you still have two chromosomes. All right. Okay, but still, you still have two chromosomes. All right, in total, well, two chromosomes here, but they have two sister chromatids. All right, then we go through meiosis one. And what happens in meiosis one, again, focus on the chromosomes. What's happening in the meiosis one is this: homologous chromosomes are going to separate. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this picture over here. In other words, this one's gonna go here and this one's gonna go to the other side, and that is what happens in meiosis one. Now, how many cells do we have after meiosis one? We have two cells. um, how many chromosomes in each of the cell? Well, this one only has one chromosome, and this one has only one chromosome, right? So you went from two chromosomes to one chromosome. What happened? uh, we reduced the number of chromosomes by half. In other words, these cells are now haploid because they have one chromosome each. However, this chromosome still contains two sister chromatids. Okay, and this chromosome, guess what? Contains two sister chromatids. Okay, however, we now have half the number of chromosomes. What happens then? Let me change my color. Then we have meiosis 2. Okay, in meiosis 2, what's the big thing about meiosis 2? The sister chromatids separate. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go to this cell, and this sister chromatid is going to go this direction. This other one's going to go this direction. This one is going to go this direction. This one is going to go this other direction. All right, and now we end up after meiosis 1 and 2, what do we end up with? We end up with 4 cells. Each cell has one chromosome, so each cell is going to be haploid. Okay, and this is how meiosis halves the number of chromosomes. Now, there's one thing that you're probably thinking, wait, you missed something. Uh, you miss the fact that they're genetically different. All of these 4 cells are different. True, but this picture is not showing you that. This picture is only focusing on what happens to the chromosomes. We go from, I'm going to change color one more time. We go from one cell diploid. We end up with 4 cells all haploid. Okay? Is this any different from the previous slide that I show you here? Nope, it's the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing except that this picture shows you that all of the cells are different. And we'll explain that later. But please make sure you understand this slide as well, because it shows you exactly how we go from, one more time, diploid to haploid. From 1 cell to 4 cells. Okay, and it also shows you at what time are these chromosomes separated.